Hello, and welcome to the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. My view of humanity is a whole new tea. Okay, guys, get some petty tea. We're going to continue. Yeah, this might be a longer series than normal, but I know that a lot of the country is kind of naive in this area, especially like there's millennials who graduated right when that whole bank situation happened and looking for work. And then how, I mean, some people don't believe in DEI. They think companies are not racist. They think racism is gone, but then they'll turn around and say reverse racism. Mm. Mm. But it's like while the banks were being paid off or, corrected and stuff, still couldn't find a job. Like, and I've so many times I've told you guys about the interviews and the illegal questions and things. Because even I remember when I had a sew in, and one of the interviewer, I think he was one of the owners of the company. So, what kind of hair do you have under there? Are you gonna make sure your hair is kept up like this all the time, or should I ever expect your other hair out? And one tried to put their hand in my hair. Yeah, no, that's a no no. And so, and like throughout all the like so many episodes I talk about the illegal questions, and it's crazy how people don't think that people who go to college and study learn and pay attention to what is being taught. It's like, yes, I concentrated with marketing and advertising and things like that. Well, it's like, well, I'll just say marketing because I learned a lot more after, especially when I was studying for my MBA in internet marketing with the advertising part. But, oh, it's like with my HR class, I loved HR. And it's like I thought it was really interesting and everything, but then I thought a lot of it was relatable because turn around, yeah, being black, a female, and diagnosed with a disability that I was born with and everything, it's like I know that I have to pay attention. I have to look out and pay attention to the bigotry within the hiring processes. And I have to listen even closely. And I mean, especially when they say, I would have never imagined you when I looked at your resume. Bigot. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, it's like I'm going to be talking a lot about how I kept being pushed down, even though, like, because a lot of people keep judging the people on food stamps and the people who might be in lower class and things like that, but they don't know how hard some of us work or the effort because you know what, and some people are like, well, they stopped working, they stopped trying. Sometimes you get tired of trying. Sometimes you want to give up. Sometimes depression, especially like I have fought depression so many times throughout my life, especially when it came to applying for jobs, because after all of those questions, like throughout like I'm not even gonna, one day I might just make a list of all of them and read all of them during a an episode. But I've said so many of them throughout the episodes. I'm like, if you haven't listened to them, catch up. Okay, boo boo. Okay. But it's like for some people, it's like it might be mental health. Sometimes you're so tired. You've worked so hard, and that's another thing. A lot of the rich, they brag about how they don't have to try anymore. Like once you become so rich, you don't have to try anymore. You don't have to work anymore. When you own the business and you get to hire other people, you get to just kind of chill. And I know people who own businesses and hire people, they know they don't pay their employees enough. Some of them gloat about it. And some of them brag because they're like, my employees, they do it as I say because if they leave, they have nowhere else to go. especially if they hire people with a criminal record, or like moms who, they might be single moms, and they don't want to lose the apartment or that mortgage or whatever, or the car even. And that's why it's like I want to make sure, like, with this series, I want to talk about how a lot of these rich people are the evil ones. A lot of the rich, they steal more, like it's a reverse Robin Hood, you know? They take from the poor to give to the rich. They take advantage of the poor. They do anything and everything to the poor, and then they turn around and blame the poor like they are doing right now. People, like, now we have so many Republicans and so many people blaming the poor for being poor, blaming the poor for how the state of our country, when while they are cheering on people, billionaires who might become billionaires, or billionaires that might turn around and be trillionaires. They cheer that on. They have no problem cheering them on. And these are billionaire trillionaires who, yes, they are billionaires. Yes, some of them started their businesses and, developed blah, blah, blah. But do you know the history of some of these billionaires? Do you know the history? Like, because, yeah, for example, speaking of, I mentioned the banks earlier. Look up Chase Bank and see how they got started. I've talked about them a few months ago, might be 6 months ago, but yeah, Chase is one of those businesses that came through slave money. They came through slave money. I didn't learn this until a few years ago because I was doing research on businesses that came, like, yeah, exactly, the businesses that came from slavery. Because a lot of colonizers, they want to tell black people, you shouldn't get reparations, your descendants, it's like, you're the descendants, and those are your ancestors. We didn't enslave you, so you shouldn't be rewarded because you're not, etc., etc. But they're so naive and so poorly educated on the complexity of that topic, because there are many food companies, many corporations and stuff that got to become millionaires and billionaires because of the seeds that they planted decades ago, because of the seeds that the freedoms and the laws allowed them to have before. Because even education, African Americans were not allowed to go to college or even allowed to read at some point. They had to build their own. And so we had to plant those seeds. So now that we can get education, and then at some point the laws change so that we can get education at the same schools as the colonizers. But that took time. I mean, people want to judge the African American community, and a lot of times they say we're not smart enough. It's not that we're not smart enough. You didn't allow us to work at our potential. You try to push us down, drag us down, and then you told everybody else that we're not smart enough. And then you talked about in Africa, oh, well, you guys would still be like barbarians and doing blah, 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 and all this other stuff. But then when you look at genealogy, it's kind of funny how African Americans don't have any of the barbaric DNA, but colonizers do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look at that. Look at that. But it's just when it comes, just like the seedlings with DNA and laws and everything, cause and effect. I talk about this all the time. A lot of these billionaires got to be billionaires because of past seeds, past fortune. Even the owner of Amazon, it's, I believe, like his parents loaned him money, but then I think he had business loans too. But the business, yeah, it's like I think he had to try a few times before it succeeded. But the privilege of being a white man who had the resources and born from the right womb to be able to get that money so that he could then become a millionaire, billionaire, you know. And then it's like even looking at some of the other millionaires, like, because even, oh, before I get off the subject of Amazon, look at how he treats his employees, and even especially when an employee passes away. I will never forget, because even it's so bad that South Park covered it. But it's like people passing away in the bathroom, even though like they put some concern to management earlier in the day, and then I don't know, it's just, and then the pay that they give them, and then they try to unionize, but then the owner refuses it so much. Like he'll pay people, I'm so just, I don't have all the notes on that one, so, or I know I'm gonna have to read up because yeah, that just kind of twinkled in my mind. So I'll just say look up the hiring practices and the work conditions of Amazon and how he treats his employees and the pay measures of the employee. Yeah, and how some of them are trying to unionize, but yeah, just look that up. Look that up. Because people keep wanting to blame the poor when the people who came to work are trying to work so that they can afford the groceries, so they can afford either apartment or house, so they can afford to raise their family or get ready to raise a family or even maybe go to school and better themselves. But our country, our country, yeah, it's, but then look at so many other companies, because like some of the grocery store companies. It's like I just learned they're like you get a tax credit, or the millionaires get tax credits if they hire people on government assistance, but it doesn't mean that they're gonna get them off food assistance. And because I worked, I'm trying to remember which company I worked for, but there was one where it was like minimum wage and everything like that, and they didn't they wouldn't give me a good amount of hours. And I mean, it was a side job because I was doing promotional modeling, but I was trying to at least find, like, if I could find a Monday through Friday job and then just do promotions over the weekend, get that marketing and advertising experience over the weekend. But yeah, they didn't want that. They didn't like that. And so, um, but yeah, and I mean, that's one reason why it didn't last that long, because I even remember one of the managers saying, so you think you're actually gonna do something? You like, and that's the funny thing. You're trying to build yourself up. You're trying to get yourself out of the situation you're in, but it's like you have either managers or people like coworkers. They don't want you to get out. They want you to stay that right there with them. And even when I was starting to work out with even Salvation, oh, I have stories about Salvation Army. Ooh, because there's some things that I saw. There are some things that I saw, baby. It's like that's when like I used to think like I would go to the Salvation Armies one day, and I would probably get some of their novels and books, and I wanted to start my own little bookstore. But I thought getting some of the books from there, and I'll probably buy some new ones or see if I can get some on sale and stuff. But I thought Salvation Army would be, but no, I'll go to another resale shop, because the things that I learned about Salvation Army I will avoid as much as possible. I'll just say that. Maybe in another 6 months to a year, I would have to figure out how I'm going to tell those stories. But I know some dirt on Salvation Army. The one thing I can tell you that relates to this subject is how, after I had my job interview and they said that they would welcome me in for a management internship and things, I I kind of found out the racism within their company because the ladies got to pick which areas, like 'cause I think there was three of us that they chose, and like each week or two they were going to switch us off in each category so that we can learn and train in different departments. And I found out that the ladies in charge of my location, they saw me, they saw a black woman. See, they say there's no more racism, but these women were bigots. In my opinion, though. In my, like, I have to say, in my opinion, even though, like, literally, it's like a few, like, how come people in different departments are coming up telling me to watch my back, and how these ladies on purpose are giving me the heart. They're starting me off in the worst departments because they don't want me to succeed and they want me to quit. Do you know how many people, do you know how many people came up to me at that location? And even people who at first they said they didn't think they were going to like me because or some of the black people said I talk white or I didn't act like them, so they didn't know about me. But then they realized that I was nice and I was cool and everything. So that's when they started pulling me to the side, telling me to watch my back, telling me that on purpose. Because, like, oh yeah, the managers would say anything in front of them because they didn't think they were going to come back to me. But do you know at least 10, at least it might have been 20, but it was at least 10 people in different departments pulling me to the side, telling me how these women were trying their best because they didn't want me to have a management position. Because one of them even said, like, I guess they looked at or they didn't interview me, but I guess they got a copy of my resume. And one of them was just like, we can't have her get this job. It's like she has more education than blah blah blah. And like, yeah, they didn't like that I was educated. They didn't like my experience, and I didn't even finish my MBA yet. I had an MA, but I was in the middle of my MBA. But they couldn't. Oh, they hated. Actually, no. I just finished. I was just finishing my MA. That was the thing. I had my bachelor's and double minor, and I had my certification in hospitality. Yeah, that's what I had so far. But they were threatened by that. They were threatened by that. And it's like, but the thing was, like, like, yeah, that doesn't even touch the things like I want to tell you about. Ooh, because I'm used to racism, and it's really funny how it's like that jerk that, yeah, somebody like he was a Christian guy. He was this, he was that, he was said no. To me, he was a racist bigot too. But it's like, because, yeah, he downplayed us. He talked about black women so badly, said we weren't smart enough or capable and everything. But then it's like, people don't realize this is echoing the stereotypes that they've been saying for years since black people were free. And once they saw that black people were opening up beautiful and amazing cities, that's when the massacres started. And it's like they did it over and over and over and over and over until my people started giving up. It's like people want to blame black people for the situations they're in right now, for the cities that they're like, oh, your cities are blah blah blah. You need to fix it up. You need to do this. You need to work harder. And it's like, yeah, but then when like like when you have, mm, yeah, let's just say the people who took over and enslaved and also offed a lot of Native Americans. Yeah, when they want to start their own city where only they are allowed to be in, everyone applauds them and say, if only black people were doing that for decades. But every time, yeah, it was burned down and flooded. People were hurt or eliminated from this earth. Yeah, yeah. So It's like a lot of people want to put down the lower class, especially African Americans. I say that on purpose because whenever people say food stamps, people picture black people. Whenever they mention some type of assistance, they picture black people. It's really dumb and stupid because when you really look at the numbers, it's really funny that I think it's like 36 or 37% are Caucasian. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's going to get interesting out there. But and I'm telling this story because it's just like I worked so hard. I went to school, I studied, I worked minimum wage jobs trying to get out of my situation. Did like I even worked promotional modeling and so many other different jobs to get gain experience for my resume so that I can finally get that 9 to 5 marketing job. But then I go to the interview and they're like, "Why do you walk like that? Is that permanent? You're going to get that fixed, right?" And it's like, "Oh, it's like, did something happen to you? Did you get run over by a car? Did your husband harm you?" Yeah, I was gonna, yeah, or like harm you to, yeah, yeah, let's just say, yeah. And it's just to a point where trying to get out of the hole that I was in, I wasn't like, I was, I was blessed to be able to get my education. And I was like, yeah, even the area that I'm from, I'm blessed for that. But being black is complicated because people want to push you down, tell you what you can't do, but then at the same time they want to tell you that you're not working hard enough, even though you find like you deserve those positions. You've worked hard for those positions. You go after those positions, but then they tell you you're still not good enough. They don't want someone that looks like you to be at their level and surpass them. They don't want that. They refuse that. They will make sure that does not happen. So when I keep hearing about when I keep seeing people on TikTok, YouTube and everything say how, oh, they're going to learn today. They're going to learn how to stock up their shelves. It's like, oh, we're going to see some people go hungry. Now we're going to see some people try to get a job when majority of the people on food stamps work at probably some of your favorite grocery stores, but those grocery stores make sure they don't give their employees enough hours so to get benefits or anything like that because they don't want to pay that, right? Right? They want to keep their millions. So they have to keep them below so that they can get that tax credit. They say all lives matter, but unless you're a billionaire, they want to keep that. They'd rather keep that money than keep you alive. They care more about their wallet. They care more about even the stock price than they do a living soul. That's not right, is it? People keep trying to blame the poor when a lot of the poor are trying to get out of their situations. A lot of the poor have worked their tushes off. But then some people are like, oh, they're going to sell them off for like an alcoholic beverage or to get their hair done, their nails done. Like, you don't know their lives. And you know what? It's like, especially if I was on food stamps and I had kids and I fed them, I did everything I could, I did all of my responsibilities and things like that. You know, it would be nice to be able to have just a mini spa day where I could just getting my nails done just so I can feel a little pretty, you know? But I'm not like but it's like I'm not the type of person that would do that. Like I would maneuver like I would probably buy like or let's just say I would just do things like I'm not gonna say what I would do because I'm me and no one else gotta do like yeah. Cause like with me, especially starting my business and I want to look the part and everything like that. I've been looking up different, like even the like really cute press on nails. I've never done press on nails. So, and then looking up the glue and which one's better and what size my nails are. And cause like when I finally get my business going and I get out there and I see people, people are going to already judge me because I'm black and I have a disability. So I need to make sure I look amazing from head to toe. And I'm going to make sure I do that. So it's like I have to watch every penny, every penny. And I'm doing that. It's like, but, and at the same time, I do want to, like, for years, I felt like I was worthless. I felt like I was ugly because everyone, like, I would be put down because of how I walk. I would be, and then even trying to date. Oh, that'll be another series of its own. But I just think it's crazy how people keep trying to judge the poor. But some of the poor are the ones with the biggest hearts. They have the richest hearts because they will make a plate for you. They will, like, if they see that you're out of your, like, I mean, just if you're having a rough day, though, they're the ones who would invite you over and tell you to have a seat and just tell you to, you know, ease your mind. They're the ones that will show their beautiful and amazing spirit. They will. They really, really will. It's like they might be poor in the pockets, but they're rich in the soul. But then you have the rich in the pockets and the poor in the soul. They don't care about you. They care more about their money. They care more about, again, that's another thing that, yeah, it's like that Inventing Anna documentary. It shows so much about the power of money and business and corporate. Because millionaires, billionaires, they don't use their own money when they get to start their business. The poor doesn't have that as an option. It's like the poor doesn't have that back. Like, no. It's like the rich will borrow, and if they succeed, the banks will profit. But if they don't, then they lose money. But the banks are banks. They'll make more money, and they make a lot of that money from late fees. They make a lot of that money from the poor. So we keep trying to blame the poor when we should be looking at the rich and the advantages of the rich and how they get to they get away with everything. They get away with everything. It's pretty sad but interesting at the same time, looking at the cultures of both sides. And it's like I know how, like, with the lotto and everything, there've been a few times where you can be a half billionaire and everything like that. And it's like my dad would tell me that there's no way you would know how to spend all of that money. With the economy right now, with what's going on, it's like, I mean, I would have invested part of it, of course, but once I heard about what's going on right now, one thing that I know I would have done, I would have gone to all of the, let's see, minority owned grocery stores, and some people are like, you're racist. It's like you don't know the troubles that some of the African American, especially owned grocery stores. And then I would even go to the Asian American owned grocery stores and buy some, like, their foods, and like, because yeah, it's not only the black owned. I'm especially going to go to the black owned, but not only. And then I'm going to look up the ones that are LGBTQ owned. And then I'm going to see which ones of the Caucasian population are part of the Underground Railroad crew, not the colonizers. Because, yes, like, yeah, people might say, but like, no, I will go and buy from the Caucasian persuasion, but they have to be woke, simply woke. But okay, I'm going to talk about this more in another episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. I am a woman, I am of color, and I am handicapable. But most importantly, I am human, and you're human too.